Hello and welcome to the Energy Monitor video series coming at you live from Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt for the COP27 Climate Summit. My name is Dave Keating and I'm joined today by Christina Shim, who is Vice President and Head of Strategy at IBM Sustainability Software. Christina, thanks so much for talking with us here at the COP.
Thanks for having me.
I want to ask first what you've been up to here when you're talking to people here about what you guys are doing. What kind of conversations are you having about how software can play a role in fighting climate change?
Yeah, thanks. So, look, at the end of the day, what's really clear here is that there's a huge expectation of the type of impact that needs to happen and how quickly that needs to happen. And what we're coming at this as from a technology perspective is technology is critical to accelerate progress that we need to be making because we can't do this manually. We need to make sure that all the stakeholders that you see around us are all working together, but the technology that we have at our disposal should also be used and is really critical in the fight towards climate change. And so that's really the message that we have. How do we operationalize this in a day-to-day setting for people? How do we make it real so that we turn ambition around sustainability and climate issues into action? And then how can technology really be leveraged in order to help facilitate that and accelerate that towards goals?
Yeah, that's really the key, isn't it? Turning it into action. So as we look ahead, we've got, 3 or 4 days left in terms of this climate summit. When we get to the end of this week, what will define success for you, particularly where you're coming from in terms of software? What would you really like to see as an outcome here?
There's a lot of questions that come up on how do we start, what does this mean, where are we on the journey, and how do we make sure that we're progressing? And I would say, from a technology perspective, a software perspective, there's a lot of ways that we can make really tangible impacts that I don't think a lot of people are talking about enough. So for example, a lot of our technology has been used to increase productivity for different companies, 20 to 30%, decrease IT infrastructure costs by 75 or more percent, and extend the lifetime of critical assets by over 50%. And all of these different areas are tangible ways that you can operationalize what's happening with your facilities, with your critical assets and your infrastructure, with your data centers. I mean, real tangible ways that anybody here that's working for government, social, private sector, enterprise, anywhere can really think about how technology can be used to decrease their energy costs, increase their energy efficiency, and it's really, it's good for business. It's good for organizations. It's not just great for climate perspective, from sustainability. And I think that that's the real message that we're trying to get across, and what the outcome is that we'd like to see is more adoption of existing technology that can help accelerate towards those goals.
So at the end of this week, we'll have all these policymakers going back home to their home countries. What are you really hopes happens after this summit in terms of creating policy spaces, policy frameworks that enable technology solutions like the ones you're working on to really be able to thrive? What do you need from policymakers in terms of that framework?
Yeah, at the end of the day, look, I'm not a policy expert. I think at the end of the day, what's really needed is just an environment that enables the adoption of technology. And to be frank, I don't think that is something that's currently a huge challenge, right? I think that it's more about where different organizations are on their sustainability or their climate journey, and then recognizing that technology can help them to move to the next level. So one example, we have worked with Telecom, Orange Caribbean, who is based in the Caribbean but has a lot of European customers, and they really struggled with their data centers, and they really struggled with the cost of their energy to make sure their data center was optimized. And so using one of our technologies, they were able to make sure that they were realizing reduction of cost. So 94%, I believe, of reduction of their energy usage, 98% of their rack space requirements that were decreased. And it allows for significant, if you think about that at scale, right? You think about if this is one company with locations and data centers all around the world, and you're able to replicate that model elsewhere, think about the impact that that can have. I would say from a policy perspective, it's just making sure that we're enabling an environment that allows for the adoption of that technology. And I don't think that that's necessarily a huge constraint at the moment. I think the technology is there, and a lot of organizations just need to be able to recognize that that's where you can start to really accelerate your journey.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us here.
Absolutely.
And thank you for watching this installment of the Energy Monitor video series, coming at you live from here at Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt at the COP27 Summit.